Well, hello, my beautiful YouTube family. Thank you for joining me for this series where we're going to be looking at the sun through all the signs and houses, looking at a sign and a house each week for the next 12 weeks. But before we get into this week's sign and house, what is the sun all about? Well, it's how we choose to build our kingdom in this earthly existence. For most people, this is usually done through a career and through some kind of worldly achievements. The sun represents that in a general sense in the horoscope. There are other factors that we look at as well when we're doing like a career reading or something like that, but the sun is always a key player. The sun is also how we choose to identify ourselves. You know, maybe if we have the sun in the 6th house, we will identify ourselves as a helper, somebody who fixes things, solves problems for others. Perhaps if we have the sun in the 9th house, we might identify ourselves as a wisdom giver, someone with a lot of knowledge. Maybe if we have the sun in the 1st house, we might see ourselves as something of a hero in the world, here to make a change, here to make a difference in the world. Remember though that these are stories that are given to us by, let's say, our ego. The sun actually represents our ego. And so these can sometimes be stories that we buy into for ego identification as well. The sun ruling our identity and ruling our egoic self as well. Now, the sun is also our self-confidence. And so it's where we need to focus our energy in order to grow our self-confidence. For example, if you have the sun in the 11th house, that is saying that if you want to increase your self-confidence in the world, establish greater networks, build your friendship circles, and you will grow your own personal self-confidence as well. You might even get a sense of self-confidence through being a great friend to somebody too. The sun is the natural ruler of the sign of Leo, and they're a little bit the same in their energies in a sense. You know, they're both fun energies, they're both playful, they're both creative, they're both glamorous, and it's all about being the best. Wherever Leo sits is all about where am I the king, the best. And the same with the sun. Where does the sun sit? It's all about being the best. It's all about shining brightly in the world. The sun is like a superstar energy. It's a diva kind of energy, the famous person, the king, the queen. All of us have a little bit of solar energy going on. We've all got the sun somewhere in the chart. Some people are expressing it right out there for the whole world to see, and some people are keeping their diva energy a bit to themselves, but it's still there. Everyone is a king or queen in their own way, in some realm in life. The sun is the reminder in the chart of our own superstar nature. And it also reminds us, well, at least I get reminded when I look at my sun, that other people have a right to be a superstar too, to shine their light, to shine their energy in some way in the world. And I'm not here to usurp other people's right to be a king or queen in their own way, in their own manner. I am only here to shine my light in the manner that I'm called to do so. The sun's placement also shows us, therefore, where we shine, For example, sun in the 6th house might indicate you shine best by helping other people, by fixing problems for other people, finding solutions in life for other people. The sun in the 2nd house might show that you can really shine in financial matters or in some sort of creation of self-sufficiency in some way. The sun in the 10th house obviously is a very strong place. The sun is at the highest point in the sky when the sun is in the 10th house, and usually means you're born at midday. And therefore, when the sun is in the 10th house, we can shine in career. We can shine in worldly achievements, in our reputation. So that's the sun energy, a bit in a nutshell. It is the most creative planet. Now, no planet has exclusive rights to creativity, but when it comes to creative intelligence, the sun does sort of have a leading role to play, obviously. It is the giver of vitality. If you think about as above, so below, the old Hermetic principle, if we have no sun, we have no life in the solar system. We'll be sitting on Earth, it would be completely dark, we wouldn't even be able to see the moon or the other planets or each other. There would be no light, no life, nada, nothing. So the vitality that we experience comes from the sun. Our vitality as individuals is seen through the placement of the sun and its good or bad aspects in our natal chart. Again, as above, so below, the sun is illuminating, giving light as well as vitality and growth. It's giving light and it's giving illumination, as I said. So it is actually connected to our ability to see, literally and figuratively. And often people with, just a little tidbit for you, people with the sun in the first house in their childhood will often tend to need glasses or may have some sort of eye issue until they sort of come into their own in later life, and they may not need glasses when they're older. So to be able to see in the house of the body, sun in the first house can sometimes indicate a need for glasses or that there are eye issues. And hence I'm wearing my glasses for this series because I'm getting older and my eyes need a bit of support, so hence glasses. So the sun, just to wrap up what it's all about, is also representative of fathers and father figures generally, and their influence or no influence in our lives. The sun in the 12th house may well represent that the father figure in a person's life might have been absent or missing or not around very much or disengaged or something like that. So in a nutshell, the sun is the symbol of the present you in this incarnation, the you and your role in this particular lifetime. How you envision yourself is the sun, how you identify yourself, what you aspire to be, your outer self, the self you give to the world, and how you want others to see you. That is what the sun is all about. And I should also add, the sun rules the color gold. Hence, I've got my gold top on. So in this series, we're going to be, as I said, going through each sign and each house that corresponds to the sign and looking at the characteristics that the sun gives when it's in each of those placements, how we can shine, how we can generate our self-confidence in these areas of life. And without further ado, let's dive right in to our sun, house, and sign placements. So how do we know if we have the sun either in Libra or in the 7th house? Well, let's look at the sign of Libra first. You can see here on the astro wheel all the signs as they appear in any astro chart that you might look at with software online. And you can see here opposite Aries, which we're using as our first house illustration or our first rising sign illustration. We will always have opposite Aries the sign of Libra. And obviously you can see my little sun sitting in the sign of Libra. But how do we figure out if we have the sun in the 7th house? Well, in this illustration, as I've just suggested, we've got Aries as the rising sign. Now, you could have any sign rising here, it wouldn't matter. But how you figure out if your sun is in the 7th house is all you need to do, count 7 sign or house placements, because we're using whole sign astrology, from the rising sign. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. If the sun is there, then you have the sun in the 7th house, in the sign that is 7 whole sign placements from the rising sign. In this case, we have Aries and 7 houses from Aries, or 7 signs from Aries, same thing, is Libra in whole sign astrology. So let's make a beginning. We're going to start by looking at the sign of Libra. When the sun is in the sign of Libra, what does it mean? Well, unfortunately, the sun in Libra is in debilitation here. The sun is opposite its house of exaltation, its sign of exaltation, which is Aries. And whenever a planet is opposite its rulership or its exaltation sign, it tends to be in fall. Now, the sun wants to be the center of attention, just like it's the center of the solar system. But in Libra, Libra's all about other people. What can I do for others? How can I have good relationship with others? That's where the focus is for Libra and people. So it's kind of at odds here. Now, if you were to have the sun in, say, Leo or Aries, you don't need validation from other people to know that you're a worthwhile person. But when the sun is in Libra, it's the opposite. It kind of craves approval and not attention, but approval and liking from others. The sun is our confidence, and in the sign of Libra, our confidence is going to come from other people and our interactions with other people and how much other people like us. It could be a bit of a stumbling block in that sense. It can be hard for Libran sun people, not all Libran people, not Libra rising or Libra moon people, but for Libran sun people to make a decision without having to consult everybody else. What's your opinion? What do you think? What do you think is good here? What do you think is bad here? Constantly weighing up their movements in the world, Libra scales weighing up through the advice, if you like, of others or the opinions of others. Often Libra sun people, if they are in executive positions, which they often get into, they will need someone to sort of fall back on, a sort of a sounding board or a business partner who can offer them perspective. Remember that the sun is our identity, and here in the sign of Libra, it's saying I am Libran qualities. I am a negotiator. I'm a peacemaker. I am harmonious. But you know something? The sun in Libra can actually give inconsistency. Remember, the sun is this very consistent planet. It follows the same path every year, doesn't deviate according to our vantage point here on Earth. While, say, a planet like the moon deviates wildly from year to year, month to month. So when the sun is in Libra, because it's in its fall, it can become a bit inconsistent. It can be a bit hypocritical. It can not know its own mind, so it takes two paths and look a bit two-faced sometimes. Remember, this is not the case for Libran risings or moon signs, but we see it with the sun element because the sun is in fall in Libra. The good thing is that the sun here can help you to see both sides of the coin, both sides of an argument. Now, that might mean that it's more difficult to make up your mind about something because you can understand many perspectives, but it's a good thing to be able to, put yourself in somebody else's shoes to weigh something up. Remember that the sun is our confidence, and we can really shine our confidence in areas of diplomacy, negotiation, mediation, deal making, refinement, art, style, and creativity. The sun is the center of things, and if we have the sun in Libra, we might find that we often end up in or desire to be in environments that are centered, and we are the center of environments around art and culture and sophistication. It's also relationships as well. We might find that we center our life around relationships, and that's the big focus, the main focus for us. Because of the sun being in Libra, it is often seen that people with this placement will try and define themselves through the other, usually their life partner, and that's in order to develop some validation, which we've already touched on, so I won't go into that again. There can be, however, a bit of insecurity with this placement because of that need for validation from others. Remember, the sun is connected to leadership positions, and here in the sign of Libra, you could have leadership positions in the art world, in the design world, in maybe it's because Libra is ruled by Venus and Venus is the voice, maybe in some sort of oratory sense or a vocal sense, sort of singing or something like that. You can be a leader in those fields. Anything to do with styling and creating a beautiful image. Now, if you're a Libra sun person and you want more success in your life, then use Libran methods, i.e. partner with somebody. Now, that doesn't mean that you stop being autonomous if you have other indications in your chart for autonomy, but it does mean that you might do better through connection and collaboration. So you could be, let's say, a chiropractor and you collaborate with a naturopath and you open a business. You've got your own businesses happening within that context, but you are under the same banner, you're in partnership. So that's a good way to achieve success in the world when you have the sun in Libra. And of course, when we have the sun in Libra, our father might have been very Libran, might have been a very stylish dresser, quite sophisticated man. He might have been a lawyer. Libra is lawyers. He might have been very diplomatic as well. He may have also, in the shadow side of this, been lacking in a sense of autonomous self-confidence as well. Let's look now at the sun in the 7th house position. So this is again a difficult place for the sun to reside because the 7th house is representative of the kind of spouses we tend to attract. And with the sun in the 7th house, you might attract a very self-centered type of partner. I mean, the sun and its shadow element, it's the center of the solar system, and it's highly autonomous. It doesn't sort of stop to think about anybody else, kind of thing, you know. So it has this energy of self-focus, which is another reason why the sun's exalted in Aries. So because of that, your spouses could be a bit self-focused. Now, there's a bit of a dichotomy here, isn't there? Because you want a lot of attention. You're the sun person. You want attention in the relationship, and yet you attract partners who make it all about themselves. It's a bit of an ego clash here between you and the other. And this is when the sun is, doesn't matter what sign it's in. In this example, it's in Libra, but it could be in any other sign. If it's in the 7th house, it can create ego clashes with partners. So your partners are going to want to be noticed by others. They're going to carry that solar energy. They might be very exciting. They might be very entertaining kinds of people, and be exuding a lot of self-confidence that really attracts you. They're going to be radiant. They're going to be kingly kinds of people, and you have to weigh up, well, how's it going to be for me being married to the king or the queen? They'll be glamorous, highly independent, showy, charming, as I said, very confident, probably very creative. Sun is the creative energy as well, type of people. A real self-starter, real independent. They'll go their own way. Thank you very much. These are the kinds of people that can be very admirable kinds of people, but how helpful is that in relationship? You need to weigh up how much you're willing to tango with that sort of energy in a relationship. So as you can see, codependent types of relationships, absolute no-go. Absolute no-go. You will not be satisfied in partnership with this kind of situation. That said, partnerships are going to excite you and fill you with a lot of joy. Sun is joy, sun is excitement. So you will feel a lot of vitality when you're in a connection with someone else. So don't avoid these relationships, but practice having strong boundaries for what you will and will not tolerate, perhaps. Now, of course, the sun is very connected to careers as well. So your partners might have very solar careers, like the entertainer or a politician or somebody in a leadership kind of a role or a creative role of some sort. But you can have 7th house careers yourself because the sun is generally connected with career. So you might be in a negotiation kind of a role or a diplomatic role, or as a mediator. You might be in the legal professions, or someone who makes contracts, potentially with this placement as well. It's a sign of usually very charismatic types of business people who are truly great at business, because the 7th house is the 10th house from the 10th in the Bhavat Bhavam system. You'll be a sun-like, charming person when it comes to dealing with clients and just business affairs in general. It gives a lot of business prowess. Coupled with the business success is a potential to really produce some very refined and sophisticated creative designs and products. So if you're in design fields, you will have exceptional design capabilities with this sun placement. Now, this is the house of committed partnership, and the sun is a very autonomous planet. So for some people, it can indicate periods of singleness, periods of being on your own. If we were to compare it to the moon is our needs. And when it's in the 7th house or Libra, when the moon is there, it's like, I need to be in partnership. I need to have a connection. I do better. I feel more fulfilled when I'm in partnership, but not the sun. It's going it alone. And in the 7th house, it can, as a result of that, mean that there will be times in life when you are single and you're going it alone and doing it your way. Thank you very much. Now, if you are a man and you have this position, it is an indicator that your wife will be a confident woman, somebody who is self-directed and independent as well, maybe even somewhat of a dominant personality too. So heads up on that. One of the best ways to deal with this energy is if you have expectations of attention and you've got the sun in the 7th house, one of the best things you can do is direct your expectations of attention and appreciation from your spouse to your career endeavors. Because remember, this is the house of spouse, but the spouse is going to be very solar. So it makes it less likely that you will be on the receiving end of that affirmation, attention, and appreciation, which, you know, really sucks. Everybody deserves to have that. But if you've got this in your chart, there's a karmic reason for it, for why you've been born with this. So you can experience a happier journey if you're not expecting that your spouse provide that affirmation for you. Instead, you're expecting that your career, remember it's the Bhavat Bhavam, 10th house from the 10th, if your career is going to affirm you, if your clients are going to appreciate you, if you're going to get that sense of confidence from what you do in the world. Make your career the focus, and you will, you'll be able to have partnership, and you will be so much happier because you'll be getting the affirmation and appreciation that you need if you're looking for it in career. So that is a wrap up of the Sun in Libra and the 7th house. I'll catch you next week with the next video in this series, the 8th house and Scorpio.